Hey guys, Fire here with another patch analysis, this time for 3.13. This patch has seen changes to Corki, Jinx, Ashe, Varus, and also a huge Sivir rework, so let's jump right in. So Corki has seen a huge resurgence since the Triforce buff, mainly because it was made cheaper and because the Spellblade on Sheen was increased to 200%. Now Corki's kit really lends itself to dealing sustained poke damage with his high cooldowns and his rockets, but the problem at the moment was that his burst was just too high. So they've lowered the base damage on his rockets at early levels, they've increased the cooldown between shots, and they've also stopped cooldown reduction affecting how fast you can fire the rockets. Now these nerfs all mean that it's harder for Corki to all-in someone and kill them quickly, so you're going to have to poke more before you engage. The thing that will really hurt him the most will be the cooldown between missiles, as they pretty much doubled it. So to put it in perspective, not only will you be doing less damage with your missiles, but you'll be firing them less too, so it's actually a harder hit to his damage than it looks. Now Jinx has also been slapped with the nerf back this time round, which wasn't really too surprising. In solo queue she was picked or banned for a few reasons. So firstly, her zap damage was too high, her E activates a bit too quickly, and the attack speed steroid on her minigun was really good for laning, team fighting, and pretty much just pushing towers. So they've addressed two of these problems by reducing the base damage on her zap and the attack speed gained at early levels on her Q. Now zap still has a good AD ratio, meaning that it scales really well with items. They've just taken away some of the early damage before you get those items. The change to the minigun part of her Q only really affects early ranks of it, meaning that you have to be a little bit more careful when engaging the enemy AD in lane, and you won't be able to push turrets as quickly either. So these changes really mean that it's going to become more viable to start maxing your Q first for the extra range and attack speed, and then either max that Q out or switch over to maxing your W when you get a few items. Now the Ashe and Varus changes are pretty small, they've just reduced the mana costs of their ultimates to 100. This is actually pretty good for Ashe players because she has some serious mana problems in lane, and it often meant that you had to stop poking a while before you wanted to use your arrow if you were going to use it at 6. Now it's not really going to affect how much she is played, but it will mean she's more effective when she is played because she can use her volley more often and not have to worry about her mana as much. So the big change for ADs this patch was the rework to Sivir, and in my opinion it's pretty good, but there are a few bad things tied in too. So firstly, her Q is the same and untouched, but her W or ricochet is completely different. So it now means that when it's activated, the next 3 basic attacks will bounce to nearby enemies, dealing reduced damage each time it bounces. Now Spell Shield has also been changed, so it now costs no mana to cast, but it does give you less mana than it used to. So finally, her ultimate no longer grants attack speed to everyone, but instead just to Sivir when she has her W active, and it also gives diminishing movement speed to everyone around and now has no cast time either. So what they've really done with Sivir is to turn her from a burst champion to more of a huge AoE damage centric AD. Her W will bounce to every member of the enemy team if they are grouped together, and she'll get 3 of these ricochets off really quickly with her ult on 2. So this combined with her Q will actually be a huge amount of damage in teamfights across everyone, and she also still has pretty good single target damage if someone runs straight at her, but she's pretty reliant on getting ahead early. In lane they've also somewhat solved her huge mana problems, so with the spell shield now casting no mana to cast, it means that you don't have to use it to block abilities when the enemy goes aggressive. Now obviously this still works, but the point I want to make is that there is now no risk involved in deliberately blocking abilities to get mana back. Before, if it didn't work, you'd end up losing mana and make it worse, whereas now you just lose the cooldown. Now one thing to bear in mind is they've actually reduced her early single target damage from the old Sivir. Now you used to be able to auto attack reset with her W, which meant that you could get 3 auto attacks in the space of 2. For those of you who don't know what I mean by auto attack reset, it's literally just an ability that can be used straight after your auto attack, like Vayne's Tumble or Jax's W in Power, that lets you attack again without waiting for your auto attack cooldown. Now you can't actually do that anymore, which does hurt her trade potential, and so you're pretty much just relying on hitting your Q for all of your damage in lane. Just finally then, do I think we'll see her in competitive play soon with this new rework? The answer is probably not. Her kit just isn't as useful as other ADs, and if she falls behind it's very difficult for her to recover because she relies on dealing a huge amount of AoE damage and just simply won't have the damage to kill tankier targets without items. So that wraps up the analysis from the AD perspective on patch 3.13, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do leave the thumbs up and also subscribe. Now you can come and check me out on my own channel as well. I put out a lot of different league related content, some aimed at improving you as a player and some aimed at just making you laugh. Now that is all for this episode, so I'll catch you in the next patch.